Organizing wait for the family and friends of those who live at the Champlain condo. And
South Florida's community pitching in to offer their help in any way they can. Local 10 News reporter Hatzel Vela live now at the Surfside Community Center with much more for us today. Hatzel.
Calvin, Nicole, earlier we talked about those teenagers from a church up the street that were handing out coffee, and I can tell you it does not stop. Here's an example of this gray van that just showed up, you see behind me, packed. You can't barely fit anything else in there because they're bringing some supplies, water, whatever is necessary or needed here at this center. One of the things that we have seen throughout the day is that this has been consistent. All types of people coming here from as far as Kendall. Perhaps it is when we're surrounded by sadness and loss that we realize we have something in common. We're all human and we need each other. This community is now coming together, helping however they can. Lawrence Bulos drove from Kendall to help. He brought water and pizzas, hoping that provides some comfort for those inside who are likely going through one of the worst times in their lives.
In 2010, I'm from Haiti. In 2010, there was a devastating earthquake that happened, and I wasn't there, but I have family there. Even though I wasn't there, I know what is it to need help and stuff.
The real estate agent says he's willing to do whatever needed. For now, pizza and water I'm sure will be greatly accepted. Others doing the same, bringing anything they think might help.
Adult diapers, baby diapers, water.
This pickup truck was packed with stuff brought from the nearby Sky Lake Synagogue, with hundreds of people are apparently packing up stuff.
I think the tough part is when people realize the real outcome. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be bad.
Do you think it's that loss?
It's going to be devastating. A lot of people are going to be dead.
All right, it's been a couple minutes since we tossed to you and started talking about what's going on here. You can still see people unloading stuff from that van. Again, something that we've seen throughout the day. You saw from that gentleman there, he was really emotional, about to tear up. And this is somebody who doesn't even know these folks, and obviously, but we're all somehow tied in this community. And this really it hurts at this point, and a lot of us have been affected by just watching this whole thing unfold. Calvin, Nicole.
Yes, we all have been impacted by this, no doubt about it, on every emotional level. Hatzel, thanks a lot.
And we learned very early on that this building had started its 40-year recertification process.
And Local 10 News reporter Christina Vasquez joins us live now with more on that process and the structural history of this building. Christina.
There are very few words that could give anybody consolation because you're dealing with an unimaginable, horrific tragedy.
Rabbi Shalom Lipskar and his daughter Devorah say several members of their synagogue, the Shoal in Surfside, remain unaccounted for.
God does what he does. We don't understand it.
The community is reeling from what happened.
Surfside Town Commissioner Eliana Salzhauer.
The important thing is that infrastructure. We need to take a look at the bones of our buildings.
Tells us the building that partially collapsed this morning had started the 40-year recertification process. That's when engineers perform checks like structural inspections on buildings over 40 years old.
I'm told that it was proceeding fine, and they were redoing the roof, and that the building inspector had been out there very recently. I was told that it was even yesterday.
Were there any other repairs that had already been flagged as part of that recertification process when it comes to the structural integrity of the building?
The engineering survey would detail the scope of the work that was going to be done as part of the recertification process. Some of them involved concrete repair, some of them involved some wall repair. What had not yet happened, what was in its infancy, was the actual construction, which had not started, with the sole exception being that they had already begun on the roof.
Ken Director is an attorney with the firm that represents the Chaplain Towers South Condominium Association.
I've never seen anything like this. Never. Nothing even close. And there are a lot of buildings around Florida that have already done their 40-year certification and needed extensive work, but nothing like this happened. Which is why I don't think we're anywhere near a point where we can attach an understanding or develop an understanding of what caused this, or find any correlation between the 40-year certification and what happened to this building.
And take a look at this. I also checked in with state regulators that oversee condo associations, and you'll see right there, they tell me there were no citations for this association, quote, nor has it taken any administrative action against the license holder. So it really will be in the coming days and weeks when teams of engineers can go in there and really pinpoint and start to assess and to answer the question on all of our minds this evening, which is, how did this happen? Reporting live for you from Surfside, Christina Vasquez, Local 10 News.
And we know it's going to take a very long time to get that answer, but so many people desperate to know. Thank you, Christina.
Rescuers have been sifting through the rubble with the help of sonar and canines. And at times, as you can imagine, it has been quite difficult.
Yeah, Local 10 News investigator Amy Viteri, she's live with more on their efforts. Amy.
Well, unfortunately, the type of collapse this was really put rescue workers in a difficult position. Calvin, as you mentioned, they started out on top of the rubble using sonar and those search cameras along with canines. Since early this morning, they shifted their search to going underneath the rubble, but without excavation. This is an extremely dangerous and extremely slow process, and so far, they have not recovered anyone inside that debris.
Imagine a set of pancakes made out of concrete. Very difficult to move them. Again, as you're moving them, you're taking a chance of violating the integrity of the current building that's standing, or the ripple effect that happened. So it's painstakingly slow to be able to make their way in.
State Fire Marshal Jimmy Petronis outlining the challenges facing urban search and rescue teams and fire rescue crews trying to get access to the rubble of what is left of Champlain Towers. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue making the call early in the morning to shift to a precarious search under the debris.
All the resources needed to shift underneath the rubble. There's a parking garage that's beneath the building that's given us better access to gain basically tunnelways to these different floors.
Another challenge, identifying who is missing and how many people actually were inside the dozens of units that collapsed.
Comparing notes of actual folks that were occupied in the building. There's even dialogues with Airbnb, because some of these units were under Airbnb programs, to see what type of rental occupancy they had last night.
Nightfall will be the next obstacle for crews who continue to search for signs of life.
We did receive sounds, not necessarily people talking, but sounds. What sounds like people banging. Well, not people, but sounds of a possibility of a banging. Short of that, we haven't heard any voices coming from the pile.
So grim circumstances, but at last check, we were told that crews were still going in underneath that rubble, trying to get to people, hoping to hear more sounds. But again, as of yet, no one discovered, and not clear how much longer these efforts will be continuing. Of course, we are standing by for an update on all of these efforts, these searches that have been going on since the middle of the night. For now, we're live near Surfside. Amy Viteri, Local 10 News.
Amy, and I think it's also important to reiterate how earlier we heard from some people who were getting frustrated. You could tell there was a gentleman who was getting a little bit angry because he said he didn't see anybody working on top of the rubble, and it's important to say, because the assistant chief, Ray Jediah, had said that they had shifted the search from in the building to on top. So maybe when people were looking to see if rescue crews were working, they didn't necessarily see them because they were in a parking garage or something of that matter.
Well, that's correct. They said they had to go. They found it most advantageous to go under the rubble. And look, in the days ahead, we're going to be learning a lot about this process and how this works. So many factors are taken into account, notwithstanding the safety of the firefighters themselves. That is also a priority in operations like this. But of course, you have people asking, what about excavation? What about heavy machinery picking debris off of this pile? There is also the concern about the structural stability of the rest of the building. And ultimately, somebody has to make that call, whether it is safe to go in and excavate when we don't know the status of the rest of the building. All of these are difficult decisions that are being weighed in real time. And for now, the determination has been made to go under the rubble and try to get some sort of access like this. But again, all of these options at great risk to rescue crews doing this work. And in the days and weeks ahead, there will be much discussion about how this has been handled, what went wrong here, why this happened. And of course, this is just the first day, and so many families, the priority right now, getting information on where their loved ones are.
Dangerous, slow, and methodical process We have emphasized this over and over, and through your reporting, Amy, you have as well. Thank you. We'll check back in with you very shortly. Now to Washington. President Biden has been kept up to date with the situation in Surfside and has promised federal assistance.
And our Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief Ben Kennedy joins us live now from the White House with more on this. Ben.
Nicole, Calvin, President Biden says their hearts go out to the family. And as you guys just mentioned, he says they are ready to help with medical supplies, food, and housing.
So we are on top of it.
President Biden says they are ready to move with federal resources in the wake of the partial condo collapse in Surfside.
FEMA is down there taking a look at what's needed, and including from everything from if the rest of those buildings have to be evacuated as well.
The commander-in-chief then got on the phone with local leaders.
I've spoken with the mayor, I've spoken with the congresswoman.
I did get a call from the president, and he has offered all assistance possible. And so we're looking to see what the federal government can do as well.
The White House released a statement in part that all our hearts go out to the family and friends who have lost their beloved during this horrific incident, as well as to the families who wait in anguish as search and rescue teams assess and work through the devastation.
I say to the people of Florida, whatever help you want that the federal government can provide, we're waiting. Just ask us, we'll be there.
Our hearts were really with all Floridians today.
First Lady Dr. Jill Biden was in Central Florida Thursday in an effort to encourage people to get the COVID vaccine, adding that their hearts were with those affected by this tragedy.
I would like to say how saddened the president and I were to hear about the building in Miami that crumbled.
And President Biden said his team is in close contact with crews on the ground for any kind of updates. He is now on his way back to the White House. But before leaving North Carolina, President Biden said he has not heard from Governor DeSantis. He says he is waiting for that call to send in federal help. Calvin, Nicole.
All right, Ben, thank you so much for that update.
South Florida sports teams leading and lending a helping hand today during this tragic situation.
And our sports director, Will Manso, joins us now with the outreach that has been going on all day. Will.
And Nicole and Calvin, we've seen it everywhere. So many people are on the ground there in Surfside trying to do whatever they can to help families impacted by this awful tragedy, and also to help the first responders who've been working since early this morning around the clock. The Heat's Tyler Hero was at the site earlier today along with Heat staff Chris Quinn and Eric Glass. They not only passed out water and snacks to first responders and displaced residents, but Hero also relaying a message from the team. He thanked everyone there for their hard work during a difficult time, said the organization is there for them in any way they can help. Hero said, like so many of us, he woke up this morning to see the awful news. He wanted to do something to help. Meanwhile, the Heat sent out a statement shortly before they were out there saying, quote, "We are devastated to hear of the catastrophic Champlain Towers building collapse in Surfside. Our hearts go out to the victims and their families. We are thankful for the first responders who are working around the clock in rescue." Heat legend Dwayne Wade tweeted, "My heart is with the victims and families of those affected by the collapse at the Champlain Towers building in Surfside. Grateful for the first responders out there. Prayers are up." The Marlins, meanwhile, this afternoon sent out 3 vans filled with meals and water for rescue workers and kits of essentials for the families who were impacted. Marlins manager Don Mattingly said this before tonight's home game.
Just a recognition of what's going on at Surfside. Didn't seem to be able to get that off the news this morning, and just that tragedy and seeing that, be thinking about all the, the folks in there. And I know I seen it when I left home. At least it was, one tragic death. I'm hoping it's minimal over there, but that was ugly looking scene over there. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
Dolphins released this following statement. "Our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and their families as they deal with this sudden and tragic loss. We also appreciate our first responders and volunteers that have worked tirelessly today to lead rescue and relief efforts." The Panthers saying it's devastating to see the horrific scene in Surfside Beach today. "Our hearts ache for the homes destroyed and families and individuals impacted." And Inter Miami said, "We are heartbroken. The club's thoughts and prayers are with those directly affected by this horrific event that has impacted our community. A special thank you to all the first responders who are going above and beyond in rescue efforts." University of Miami Athletic Director Blake James, head coach Manny Diaz also offering statements of support. Again, Calvin and Nicole, during a difficult time like this, he's following hours, days, weeks, months, whatever it may take these organizations saying they will be there for everyone involved.
And friends and family of those missing, I'm sure, appreciate this and the comfort and the support that they get from everywhere. Thank you, Will.
And one reason why this is going to be a painstakingly slow process is because of this, that mountain of rubble and debris. Likely some survivors, likely some who may not survive, but we are hoping that that will not be the case, that there will be all survivors of the 99 unaccounted for after that catastrophic collapse that happened at around 1:30 in the morning.
And we'll have much more coverage of this major breaking story straight ahead, but we do want to let you know that if you want to watch Wheel of Fortune at 7 o'clock, we'll be broadcasting it on MeTV. You can find that on digital channel 10.2 or search for MeTV on your cable system. We'll be right back.
We're seeing over 100 fire rescue units.
A catastrophic building collapse.
Breaking into programming right now to bring you some breaking news.
Rocks the town of Surfside.
A major crisis happening.
I said, oh my God, the building's gone.
Local 10 News is covering every angle of this story.
Some of the scenes out here are really